And welcome back here on The Globe to Nigeria now, where scores of women have staged a protest against the rejection of several bills seeking gender equality. Nigeria's Senate on Tuesday voted to reject changes to the constitution to allow citizens living abroad to vote in national elections. A provision to allocate special seats for women to increase their political representation was also rejected. Dozens of women gathering outside of the National Assembly to ask lawmakers to revisit the gender bills. They accused lawmakers of choosing to deny women the opportunity of inclusion and representation in governance after 2 years of deliberations. The legislature voted on a series of bills to amend the 1999 Constitution. The current constitution was adopted during the country's transition from military rule to democracy. Now, women and girls make up nearly half the entire country's population in Nigeria, but are grossly underrepresented in Nigeria's political space. To talk more about this, we're joined by Chioma Agwuegbo, who is with TechHerNG, Nigeria's women's rights lobby group. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you so much for supporting this conversation.
I mean, just looking at it, a number of bills that are meant to facilitate this, astounding really, 68, but I believe the most important was 5 of those. Just take us through the background, please.
Thank you very much. In Nigeria, the representation of women in public life is abysmally low. It is actually a disgrace. And we would have thought that, the International Women's Month, on the first day of International Women's Month, during the Constitution Amendment, we expected the legislators to undo some of the anomalies in the country. For instance, within the National Assembly, we have 469 members of the National Assembly, both the green chambers and the red, and only 29 women. So this is just about 6% in a country where women and girls make up half of the population. And so we thought that the constitutional amendment process was an opportunity to undo some of these anomalies. But what did we get? The National Assembly overwhelmingly voted against all the gender bills within the constitutional amendment process. And so women are saying enough is enough. We're tired of negotiating our full rights as Nigerian citizens. We think that it's disgraceful that in 2022, we are actually asking for the basics. We are asking to be recognized as full citizens of Nigeria. We are asking for, placement in public office. We're asking that women who have the capacity, that have the competence, that have the character, should be able to vie for these offices. We're asking for affirmative action, 35%. It's not too much, it's not even enough. But yet we've gotten a no. And so women are saying we're going to keep going out on the streets every single day until these bills are represented to the National Assembly and until we get the answers that we're looking for.
How long has the situation prevailed, including, I must say I was quite surprised with this, that one of the bills also sought to grant citizenship to foreign-born husbands of a Nigerian woman, even though the case for a Nigerian man's foreign-born wife is a non-starter, that it automatically occurs that they are a Nigerian citizen.
I think the problem is you have to look at the way Nigerian women are seen in Nigeria. The fact that, and I think the entire process speaks to a deeper problem, which is that the National Assembly thinks that they're giving us a gift as opposed to righting a wrong. So starting from the perception, the thought process is absolutely wrong. Why shouldn't a Nigerian woman be able to confer citizenship on her husband born, outside Nigeria or of a different nationality? Why shouldn't women be able to claim indigenship from their husbands after they've been together for 5 years? The problem is when a woman is born in a place, after she gets married, she's no longer seen as belonging to the place where she was born in. She's also not seen as a member of her husband's people. And so we're almost stateless when we get married. And these are the little things, like you said, these are indeed non-starters. And women are good for votes, right? When the men are looking for votes during elections, they come to the women, we vote for them. but to give us the basics. And I think this is what really just grates at my soul. These are the basics. We're not asking for anything that's out of the ordinary. We're not, and all we're saying is correct these wrongs. You're not giving us a gift. You're not bestowing some favors. You are correcting wrongs that have existed. And what better month to do this than International Women's Month? For what we get? We got to know. The Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill has been before the National Assembly for 5 years. This is a bill that's supposed to promote and advance women's rights in Nigeria. 5 years. We're struggling with implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which used to be called the Violence Against Women's Act, but it didn't get passed as that. It had to be called the Violence Against Persons Prohibition. So we come back to the question about the perception of Nigerian women, the perception of Nigerian girls. And this is the anomaly that must be corrected. And we're not backing down till we get what we're looking for.
Yeah. Before we talk about what you intend to do, just share with us, how long has this been the case? And in this day and age, and obviously Africa has said as a whole that it's looking for 50-50 representativity. We often speak about how Rwanda as a country is something to look up to and laud. South Africa says it does it, but sometimes it's often said that the problem is, you speak about the figures outside of the socio-economic construct, so that you can have representativity, but it amounts to nothing.
So one of the bills that was shut down, during this constitution amendment process was one that was supposed to give 35% of executive leadership of political parties to women. And the reason why that particular provision is really critical is because at the end of the day, we want to shift the power, right? We want to ensure that women are not only given positions like women leader. Women are not just given positions like, women's affairs. We want women to be strategically positioned within political parties, and women do serve these political parties. They spend their lives serving these political parties. But what happens during primaries? They are exchanged, they're substituted, their names are taken out, and all of those types of things. And they keep getting told, wait your turn, right? And so we felt like this bill, to ensure that women get 35% executive leadership positions within political parties, would be one way to start to shift the power within political parties. You want women to become a voting bloc that can be negotiated with. And how do you do that? You shift the power. And so again, for us, it's like the National Assembly has, as it were, blocked every opportunity for women to move beyond where they are. You want to keep engaging with us on a certain level as women who tie wrappers and wear nice blouses and come out and dance and sing and vote. But look at Nigeria today. This country would benefit significantly from the voices of women coming to the table. You cannot lead us without us, which is why we're saying the voices that you've been hearing in the past, the voices of, that have been begging and asking, those voices are gone. The voices you're hearing now are the voices that are demanding our rightful place at the table, our rightful place at the seat of power, where we feel included, where we can table our issues. There's a lot of things within the government today, within the country today, that you just know will be taken care of with just a bit of thought, with just a bit of inclusion of women bringing forward their own suggestions, bringing forward their own leadership styles. And this is what we're asking for. Look, again, we come back to the Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill. This bill has gone through the National Assembly a good number of times. It has been whittled down. It has been manipulated. It has been just touched again and again and again, but it's still not going through. And the question comes back to, what is a Nigerian woman supposed to do? I was tweeting a few days ago and I said, I'm exhausted about protesting for everything. We've protested for the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. We've protested for state of emergency GBV, calling for urgent action against sexual and gender-based violence for women and girls. And now we're protesting for this. It's exhausting. We should be enjoying the dividends of democracy. Democracy is supposed to solve problems. But the democracy we have today, going by what happened in the National Assembly a few days ago, is not solving any problems for women. Not at all.
I mean, I understand that you'll be looking for the voting records of the lawmakers who voted against the bill. But my question is, to what end? Because as you're saying, the level of representativity, political representativity of women is so low that it can't make an impact. So those who are voting on the bills are certainly, even if they are women, there aren't enough to make a dent to change the fate of women in terms terms of the influence. And if we look at not only the legislature, but political office, how many heads of states do you have who are women? How many women in the executive do you have that would change the course of Nigerian women?
That's a very important question. While we may not have the numbers within the political class, what we have are the votes. And if you look at voting records for Nigeria, historically, women are the ones who go out to vote. They're the ones who stand in the sun, stand in the rain, they take their mats, they sit down, they organize, etc., and they wait till the votes are counted. And so what we're saying to our legislators is that you are supposed to be within the National Assembly to represent us. And if we see, as we have seen, that you are not representing us, you are not doing the things that bring progress and advancement to us, we're going to respond when it's time to vote. And so women are mobilizing heavily. And I think we have a real opportunity to show just how much our votes matter and just how much our votes count. And the truth is that in Nigeria, we have seen before legislators, state legislators in this instance, reconvening an emergency meeting to move a no to a yes. We saw this with the Not Too Young to Run movement. And so we believe very strongly that there's an opportunity that the National Assembly must not lose to correct this error, to show Nigerian women that they are indeed our representatives and we don't need to unseat them during the 2023 elections.
Perhaps also just to share with us, we wouldn't want to make the assumption that the patriarchal system is the same in every other African country, how it manifests. I mean, even though it may be largely different, but tell us a little bit more about Nigeria, how Nigerian women and girls experience everyday life, their say-so over decisions over their life, whether it's be their education, their health, etc., etc.
Well, I mean, I think that if you look at Africa as one unit, the problem is pretty much cut across, don't they? What you then have is the difference will be in severity, the difference will be in, the additional things that influence those issues. So for instance, in Nigeria, we have religion, we have culture, but we also have deeply rooted patriarchal norms that influence the way women are seen. For instance, you have a situation where, I remember somebody ran for office in a state, and during the primaries, she won the primaries, but violence broke out. And then the chairman of the party called them to his house and they had another set of primaries and she won. But then they said, we already have one person, a woman, going for one seat. And so we can't have two women going for two different seats from one state. Otherwise, they'll say we're being led by women. Simple things like that. During the 2019 elections, I was privileged to work within the Not Too Young to Run movement to shepherd a number of first-time women aspirants. And the stories that they came back with were horrific, from violence to sexual harassment to sexual abuse, just because these young women said they wanted to run for office. You hear things like, how do you as a young woman think you're going to lead us? And I remember one particular young woman saying, I'm not here to lead, I'm here to serve. She still didn't get that because it's almost seen as an anomaly for women to lead. And so part of the work that, a good number of women's organizations in Nigeria are doing is first to reorientate women, to let them know that you do deserve a seat at the table. You do deserve, a seat at the table where decisions are being made for you. And at the same time, we're working on the National Assembly, across the political class to let them know that women deserve a seat at the table. And, you can't, we say stuff like, you can't wash one hand by itself, you need both hands. But the truth is, it does make economic sense to have both sides of the divide, to have both sides of a brain, the male and the female, coming together to talk about progress of the country, to talk about the advancement of the country. And we have to stop coming back to, what are the patriarchal norms? What are the things that hold women back? Because we know these things. We know that in some instances, pregnant women within security forces who are not married are sent away because they're supposed to be married. These are backward practices that we need to let go of, that we need to discard immediately. And we need to apologize to the women who have suffered because of these practices, which is why we're very insistent that the National Assembly needs to do the right thing. We need to ensure that this anomaly from the 1st of March 2022 is corrected, and moving on to 2023, women have their pride of place. Women feel confident, women feel supported, women feel empowered by their country to be able to aspire for public office across all levels.
It's such a pity because I wanted to find out about the support networks, particularly on funding gender mainstreaming and gender sensitivity. But thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we will speak again. Chioma Agwuegbo, who is with TechHerNG, Nigeria's women